Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. A lot of fun tonight. And it's half. Tommy Davidson, great band, the Waterboys. Now we're going to continue with some hardcore baseball talk. This on day one, night one of the World Series 2013. The Red Sox winning, commanding win, dominating the Cardinals 8-1 at Fenway. So it's 1-0 Bo Sox. Here to talk some baseball is the great Mark Gubicza. Mark, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Artie, how's it going, man?
Good. I'm glad you're here to make some light of this. I thought that we were looking at a World Series based on a league championship series at a bunch of one-run games, but the Red Sox coming out of nowhere and just blasting it.
Yeah, they took advantage of a call that kind of got the call that was done and called properly. Took advantage of that. Mike Napoli once again in a World Series environment comes through with a double, clearing the bases, even scoring David Ortiz from first base. And you're right. Artie, every game it seems to be, no hitters, especially against the Red Sox. By the Tigers was in the fifth or sixth inning. It seemed to be every single game.
Yeah.
But the reality is, their offense was the best in baseball this entire season. It's been pretty much silence, which you generally will see in the postseason because you're facing the best pitchers. You're not facing teams number 4 and number 5 guys. So they really impressed me, especially against Adam Wainwright, who's, in my opinion, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball.
He really is. But you make a good point. Napoli's clutch, man. That's what you need to win. Pitching and clutch hitting. That's some guys, Napoli's a great hitter all the time, quality hitter all the time, but some of these guys really come through in the postseason and get clutch hits.
Yeah, it's always one of those deals where you anticipate if you're Boston, Pedroia or David Ortiz coming through or Ellsbury, but it's people like Napoli or Salsa Lamacchia, people like that, although he wasn't in the game today. David Ross was in there behind the plate. It's guys like that. Even when you look at St. Louis, it was Carpenter's great at bat against Clayton Kershaw that really set the table for the Cardinals in that one. So as a pitcher, your mindset is always trying to avoid or making the very best pitch against the tough guys in the lineup. Sometimes you lose a little bit of a focus against the other guys, and they're the guys that make you pay for it.
Yeah, so watching the game, the announcers said the Red Sox were not fooled by Wainwright's curveball. That was the big statement that I took away from that. How do you not be fooled by that? What was the trick? Like, how did they accomplish this tonight?
Well, I think part of it, too, was the fact was Wainwright wasn't as consistent around the strike zone. Now, when his curveball is very good, he's able to pitch inside against some lefties. Also will throw his cut fastball indoor to a right-handed batter. That sets up his curveball. I don't think his command of his other pitches were as good as normal. Yes, you can have all the advanced scouts, and I think advanced scouts do a great job letting everyone know the tendencies of what a pitcher will throw his curveball. And I'm sure the Red Sox knew exactly the hitters when Wainwright has a tendency to throw his curveball. What's the count? Is it 1-0? Is it 1-2? Those type of things are always played out in a World Series. And that gives the advantage a lot of times to hitters, but the reality is still hitting a baseball is extremely difficult.
And I'm not a baseball. I never played baseball, but does the weather being suddenly cold, does the cold snap have some effect on a pitcher like that?
Definitely on a breaking ball. There's no question.
Yeah.
When I pitched, April was always a difficult month for me. I had a horrible career in the month of April. Part of the reason why I didn't have a good feel for my slider, and that was the pitch I would go to in key situations. Wainwright wasn't able to get the hitters to swing at the curveball. Didn't have quite the same bite.
Yeah.
Now, when you've been in pretty decent weather, most times in the playoffs, you're going to have some cold weather, but most of the games so far have been pretty decent weather.
Yeah, until tonight.
Obviously in Boston it was colder, and it's a more difficult feel on the pitches.
Well, you look at the weather report, it's going to get chillier. If it goes back there for a Game 6 and a Game 7, get out the turtlenecks.
Yeah, when we played in Kansas City against Toronto at the old exhibition stadium, it was outdoors. It was like 28 for a high. I didn't even know where my fingers were, let alone feeling the baseball at that point. But the reality is it's even more difficult when you think about it for hitters to make good contact, because if they miss hit on a baseball when it's that cold, they'll have that sting in their hands for a long time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So what are you thinking prediction-wise? Do you think, say the Cardinals lose tomorrow, do you think it's a done deal? It's weird, though, with that 3 in the middle at home.
Yeah.
Is it a must-win tomorrow?
Yeah, then you have to put David Ortiz at first base. So you've taken Mike Napoli out of that equation then because with DH rule. So I think it's, tonight's game, obviously you always want to win no matter who you're playing. But the reality is I think it was an even more important game for the Red Sox to win tonight. Now, if they lose with their number one, John Lester, although John Lackey He's been a big game pitcher for a long time, even winning Game 7 of the World Series as a rookie for the Angels back in 2002. And he's facing a tough one in Michael Wacha, who's been unbelievable the last couple months of the season and in the postseason. But I think, it was a big game for the Red Sox. I think the Cardinals realized, yes, they'd love to be able to split. That's what you look for on the road. But it wouldn't be the end of the world even if they lose, tomorrow night, because 3 games at home, all of a sudden you look up, you're back in the series because you don't have that DH anymore. And that's a big advantage for a National League club when you play the American League in the World Series.
I think the big deal is, the Red Sox can win tomorrow. They guarantee it comes back there. That's, and you're talking weather-wise, too. That absolutely helps. Lester, to me, is just really a guy not talked about enough. He's a quality pitcher, man.
Yeah, he doesn't quite throw as hard as he did a couple years ago when he was 96 to 98, but his cut fastball, and he was able to throw his cut fastball on the outside corner to the inside corner, breaking, Alan Craig's bat a couple of times, and, Matt Holliday not getting good swings. All these good hitters for the Cardinals unable to make good contact. Because that cut fastball, really what it comes down to, it looks like a bad fastball. You start the bat out, and all of a sudden it's cutting in on the handle of the bat, and you don't make good contact. So, I don't think they had a good read against Lester. Lester's been very good in his career, especially in the World Series, and he's a great story when you think about what he's battled through his entire life and go out there and compete like he has and at the biggest stage and doing well. It's good to see.
Yeah, Mark, ESPN's reporting that Clay Buchholz is a scratch for Game 3 and Peavy's going to start. How does that change things?
Well, one thing about Peavy, he's had a lot of experience in the National League, so I think he realizes that, and he's faced a number of these guys on the Cardinals in the past, especially when he's with the Padres. But Buchholz, he's had an unbelievable year. He's battled some injuries. A shoulder has been an issue for a long time. Finally came back. I think Boston, that's why they're going to have to outslug the Cardinals, and that's not an easy thing to do. Yeah. Because I think that's where the advantage goes in the Cardinals' way in this series, I think, because they have a little bit better pitching starting-wise than the Red Sox. But then the bullpens, both are very good, but the Red Sox have that magical bullpen working right now where Ihara has been unbelievable for him closing games. So I still envision, I said it before, and I said it to a number of people, I still think it's going 7. And I'm still sticking with the Red Sox, but it's not going to be an easy 7 games, that's for sure. They're going to battle all the way through it. It might be one of those situations where the game is won in that 8th or 9th inning in Game 7, which would be great for the game.
Well, speaking of injuries, do you think that Carlos Beltran is going to be able to come back from this? He left the game with the rib thing. Is that in baseball? Is that something where you just shoot him up and stick him back out there in Game 2, or
he's got a
can
swing.
You see this being with the swinging?
Haley Ramirez with his rib cage situation, his swing was totally different, in that Atlanta series compared to the Cardinals series. So yeah, that'll be a huge blow for the Cardinals. That wall out there in Fenway Park, and I messing around, shagging, batting practice and running into that wall over the years when I was young and stupid over the years in Kansas City. That wall, there's no give, and it hurts a lot. So he's going back on it, even though he wasn't going full max like Torrey Hunter was when he flipped over that wall.
Yeah.
But you can see the grimace in his face. As soon as he made contact, there's absolutely no give. There's a little padding on there, but that brick wall behind the padding's been there for a long, long time. There's absolutely no give in that wall.
Yeah, it's fun because it's a throwback, and you hate to see them change a classic park like Fenway, but that is dangerous now, especially the way guys go at it these days. And it just breaks their body in half sometimes if they're going to go to try to steal a home run. And you're right, there's no give at all. Forget the padding.
Yeah, there used to be some walls where you can go up there and you jump up and it flexes with you, but there's no flex in that wall in Fenway Park. Anywhere when you look at it, in that ballpark, as an outfielder, that's why a home field advantage was so important for the Red Sox, and obviously you get that winning the All-Star game. There's so many different angles of those walls, especially if you're not used to playing against that club. If you're an American League club, you've been there a number of times, but you're the Cardinals, that's not the case. So there's all different angles. Even the ball off the wall that Napoli hit, Chambers went after that, and it connected off the wall and went away from him. A lot of times a center fielder will already anticipate that, carry him off the wall, and be able to make that play. So there's so many different bounces off the wall, so many ways you should play it. I think Johnny Gomes does a great job. He plays a shallow left field. I don't know why everyone wouldn't do that at Fenway, because anything hitting the air over your head is going off the wall or over the wall, so why not take away a single? And that's what Johnny Gomes did for the most part, although he did have a tough play on that one ball down the line where he wasn't able to look it into his glove. But other than that, he made some nice plays.
How, again, so your prediction is, and you're sticking with it still, you think the Sox in 7?
Yeah, only because they're going to play at home, and there's something magical about that place for the Red Sox this season.
Definitely.
We all know it. You're a Yankee fan, and me playing in Kansas City all those years going into Fenway. I didn't like to believe in that magic, and I certainly didn't like going into that ballpark as far as a visiting club and losing leads late. Especially this season, it's going to be a difficult task for the Cardinals to overcome that if it gets to that Game 7 at home there for Boston.
Hey, off-topic baseball subject, but not the World Series. Does it make you sad to see a guy like Jim Leland step down and maybe, I don't know, hopefully we haven't seen him manage his last game, but it certainly could be the case.
One of the great guys
yeah.
in the game. I mean, just to have a conversation with him is, I mean, he knows the game, loves the game, has a passion for the game, but he knows everybody ever played, anybody who's a baseball fan, anybody who's a sports fan in general. He'll have a conversation with you, and it's legitimate and genuine, and that's what I've always loved about him. And it's unfortunate that it didn't work out this year for the Tigers, and he decided to step aside. But at least he's got that one World Championship with Florida. But the reality is he's brought some teams. I mean, look what Detroit was before he took over. They were a horrendous team.
Right.
But they lose about 118, 119 games within a year or so. He's got the team in the World Series. Yes, they didn't finish the job. But the reality is this team is set for a number of years to be contenders, and part of the reason is because of Jim Leland.
I mean, on paper, they're the best team in the game, right? I mean, I feel the pitching, hitting, on paper, they should have won, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what their starters did, they go along with, I mean, their lineup's insane, but their starters did great. The bottom line is there's always an Achilles heel for a team, and their bullpen was that issue. I mean, that's the reason why the Red Sox beat them. They shouldn't have beat them because they were, I mentioned that before, running no-hitters into the 6th and 7th inning, a number of those games, that dominant. Yet their bullpen, although they have some decent arms down there, they just weren't able to make the quality pitch when you needed to, and I think that's what hurt them. And that's what makes it such a difficult task for a manager. You put your team in position to win. You keep that confidence up. You give the baseball to a guy down in the bullpen, and lo and behold, he makes a mistake, gives up a home run or a base hit, and it ends up looking bad as a team, as a manager, as a bullpen, because you weren't able to complete the task.
Well, Mark, listen, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate that. We needed some expertise with the game tonight because 8-1 kind of puzzled me. Please come back before the end of the series and give us some more of your thoughts if you can.
Oh, no question. I love to, guys. I appreciate it, Artie. Have a good one there, man. Yeah, I love listening and watching your show.
Thanks, man. The great Mark Gubicza shedding some light on a game that surprised me. 8-1 again. Game 1, Sox win over the Cardinals. Game 1 of the World Series, take a 1-0 lead. And Mark thinks Sox in 7. And I said Sox in 6. You said Sox in 7 too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, back in Fenway. That'll be fun. Hopefully at least does that. It goes back to Fenway. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and wrap up.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.